Hello everybody. In this video I'm going to be showing my entire portfolio on Robinhood, and as you can see here I'm only at about plus 8% on the $2,000 I've invested. I started investing on Robinhood in around June or July, but I was only putting in a few $100s at first, and then I slowly worked it up, and then I just got it up to $2,000 about 2 months ago. So it is somewhat of a modest return, but it is over a very short time period, and I think I've seen some pretty good returns on a lot of my stocks within that time period. The first stock that I wanted to show in my portfolio is MasterCard. I invested in at $265, so I'm already at $32 plus within a really short time period. And I really think that cash is becoming less and less popular over the years, with money on cards just becoming more popular than cash in 2014, I believe, and that shift is really going to continue. So companies like MasterCard are going to continue to expand and see growth here in the US. Next up is Alibaba, which in the last year has seen a 50% return, and I invested at $180. And they're just doing extremely well. They're so involved in so many different sectors in Asia, and if you believe that the economy in China is going to still continue to grow, Alibaba is definitely the best bet to invest in. Next up is Salesforce, which I originally invested in at $153, and it's actually one of the earlier stocks that I did buy on Robinhood, and I'm not really seeing a great return, but I'm in it for the long term with Salesforce. I think they have a ton of data, and companies with data are going to have a ton of value moving forward, and Salesforce is one of the best companies to invest in for that. Next up is PayPal, which I have actually not seen a return in. I originally invested at $115, I believe, so I've actually seen a small loss with that. But similarly to how I explained it with MasterCard, I think we're going to see a transition away from traditional cash, and things like PayPal with owning Venmo are going to continue to become more and more popular, especially as college-age kids now are going to continue to use it as they become more mature adults. It's just going to continue to grow in popularity and become more and more profitable. Next up is Take-Two Interactive. I'm not going to take much time to talk about this one. I've actually made a whole video dedicated to Take-Two Interactive along with most of the other stocks in this video, so please do come check out my channel if you are interested in really learning more about any of these companies. But I originally invested $108 in Take-Two Interactive, and it's already at $122. It's at a pretty modest return of 16% in the last year, but a big believer in this one for the long term. Next up is Tencent, which I originally invested $42 in, and it's already at $48.62. Only a modest 22% gain in the last year, but a huge global growth potential for this company as well. Next up is Activision Blizzard, which I originally invested in for $46, and I have another limit price set on it at $55, I believe. They're just expanding their user base by a ton with the different divisions of Activision Blizzard, such as Kings, which is their mobile division that they acquired, and they're really expanding their user base, and I think mobile gaming is going to continue to become more and more popular and expand globally. So Activision Blizzard is going to be probably the biggest player there. And next up is New Residential Investment, which is a really popular dividend stock with a really high yield. Not a whole lot to say about this one, but if you are interested in investing in a dividend stock, go and check this one out. And exact same story for New York Mortgage Trust. Don't know a ton about the company itself, just if you look at the financial yield on it, they are doing really, really well. So definitely look into it. And another thing about this one is that it moves very, very little. It is not volatile at all. It stays around 620 all the time. So pretty safe investment, and they just about always make their dividend if you are interested in investing in a dividend stock. Next up is Callaway, which is a golf company that's doing a lot expanding in the United States, seeing about a 37% return in the last year, and I believe I originally invested at $16.50. Next up is probably the most controversial stock since their terrible IPO, which is Uber, which is currently around $30, and I originally invested at $27.50, and I will probably continue to buy shares. I think as they approach profitability in the second half of 2021, they are going to continue to climb in the stock price, which has not been proven yet at all, and nobody knows for sure what's going to happen with Uber. But I think with all they're doing globally compared to Lyft, that they are going to win out that race and continue to do extremely well. And then we have Airbus, which I only have a couple of shares of. I don't know a ton about Airbus in the short term, but I believe in Airbus and Boeing, both for the long term. I think they're both in really, really high demand right now. So it's crazy not to have at least a small position in one of those. Next up is Moat, which is the only ETF I've invested in on Robinhood. I pretty much leave my ETFs to stash, and I actually uploaded my stash portfolio last if you want to go check that out. But what a moat is basically a company that is really hard to get involved in, such as pharmaceutical companies or like Boeing and Airbus, where you'd have to build a huge billion-dollar manufacturing facility. So it invests in companies that are really hard to get involved in, and these companies have economic moats, which is why this ticker symbol is MOAT. Next up is Disney, and I was never really interested in investing in Disney until Disney Plus came out, and it's actually the latest stock that I have bought on Robinhood, pretty close to what it's at now in the last couple of weeks. And Disney Plus, I just think has really great growth potential and is going to increase their price to earnings ratio. So that's why I'm so bullish on Disney, even though they've already seen so much stock growth in the last few years. These last couple of stocks that I'm going to show are companies that actually have a limit price set for. And for Microsoft, I've actually changed the limit price a couple of times just because it's seen so much increase. And I keep expecting pullback, but there really just is none. And I have a limit price set at 155 just because I want to get invested in Microsoft because they are doing so well. And lastly is a stock not really talked about a whole lot, but it's Royal Caribbean. And I think they're really the industry leader, and they're going to be coming out with a couple of cruise lines that are the biggest in the world within the next couple of years. And with that success, I think the stock is going to see a really good amount of appreciation. So I have a limit price set on Royal Caribbean, and they have a pretty fair dividend as well. I have done videos on most of the stocks mentioned in this video, and I did just in my last upload make a video on my stash portfolio, so come and check that out. Leave a comment down below if you have questions on pretty much just anything stock related, and thank you so much for watching to the end.